Chapter 9. Example papers. Example papers rely only on examples to support a thesis. It's important that these examples are clear and that they are relevant. So if we're going to be using examples to support what we're saying in a paper, then it becomes important to make sure that we know what an example really is. If I asked you to give me an example of a color, you could tell me green, or orange, or blue. If I asked for an example of a department store, you might say Belk, Dillard's, or Macy's. We've been using examples since we were very little. We understand what they are, but can we define them? As you see on your screen, an example is something that is selected to represent or to show the primary nature of the larger group that it belongs to. What does this mean? It simply means that you have to make sure that anything that you choose does have the qualities that you are discussing. It should not be a surprise to you that you need a thesis, order, and details for an example paper. The three options for orders that you can use are chronological, spatial, and numerical, or order of importance. It's important to remember that you must maintain concreteness and clarity when you are writing. It's even more important when you are looking at example papers. If your readers do not understand what you are saying, you might as well not have said it. So what do you need to keep in mind when writing an example paper? First, make sure that examples that you are using are examples of the point that you are trying to get across. Second, make sure that the examples that you have chosen support the thesis that you have put forth. Finally, make sure that you have represented the scope and the breadth of your subject well. Here we see part of a story copied on the screen. Take a look at the sentences. What are some of the specific details that you see? I've boxed them here. What are concrete, descriptive words or phrases that help you visualize the scene? The first one is inelegant, though perhaps it's not as strong a detail as it should have been. The next one that helps us visualize what the author saw is schematic diagram. That term helps us picture the frog as he is sitting in the water. Think about your high school biology class where you saw a cutaway diagram of something. This is what the author intends for us to remember. Let's move on. On this slide, you see many more examples. Winter-killed grass shows how brown and limp it is. As if snuffed allows us to visualize a candle's last smoke rising. What about like a kicked tent, or like a deflating balloon? Do you see the image here? You also have ruck, rumple, and fall. Formless as a pricked balloon. Floating folds like bright scum. And frog skin bag to help you out. Sure hope you're not eating right now. Here's one more for you. Unrecognizable flap of frog skin. Okay, this really is the last slide to finish out the essay. Jaws so full of live dragonflies that they couldn't close them sure paints a picture that we can relate to, doesn't it? I find it interesting that only here at the end do we really get the author's thesis. Many carnivorous animals devour their prey alive. So why did I highlight this essay? It's to show you that sometimes you only need one long extended example for you to have a successful paper. A paper does not have always to give 3 examples, as many of you were taught in prior English classes. Sometimes having a single one is the most useful. Here's a slide that says just that. Sometimes the best way to use an example paper is to just include one extended example instead of many. Use your example papers wisely, and remember that common sense helps you out greatly when deciding what examples or even how many to include.